Chances are, if you have been a therapist for any length of time and you've ever had a client come in and talk to you about all the things that are wrong with their employer, all the things that are going wrong at work, you have in your mind ideas, diagnoses for people that they work with and what they actually need. But in this video, we're going to talk about the 5 things that corporations will actually pay for, regardless of what we think they might need. Now, when we're talking about consulting, speaking, training in the corporate world, this additional services that you start adding to your counseling practice, I want you to remember that what we're really talking about is how we can meet the need of an organization. Now, an organization is a group of people, so that's important to understand. But different organizations have different priorities. They have different missions. They have different services or products that they provide. And so different organizations will need different things. You want to align with the organizations that need what you are most passionate about providing. So I'm going to give you some of the things that people are actually paying for right now in these spaces that you can probably offer pretty easily as a counselor. Number 1 is burnout prevention or burnout recovery. Now, I see this being really successful in schools and youth serving organizations because they both have high turnover rates, especially like early childhood settings. Their turnover rate is atrocious. And every time there's turnover, it costs them a tremendous amount of money. So if they can keep their people on staff without having them turn over, it allows them to decrease the budget that they're spending on training. Because when somebody's in training, you got to think if they're in training for the new job, it's usually a week or 2 weeks. They're not actually doing the job they're being trained to do. So it's costing that organization. So if you can keep them from getting burnt out or help them to recover from burnout, that is something that organizations will generally pay for. I also see this a lot in healthcare because that can be a very demanding job. I've also seen people doing this with like law enforcement. Those are or careers that typically have a lot of burnout and stress to go along with it. So if you have a solution for that and you really love working with that, that can be something that organizations will definitely pay for. Now, the number 2 one, I call this emotional intelligence training, but I wouldn't necessarily say that depending on where I'm going in terms of this consulting piece, right? But what I do talk about is communication and collaboration, right? So when we talk about team dynamics, that all really falls under the heading of emotional intelligence. Do you recognize your own emotions? Can you recognize those in other people? Can you communicate effectively? Can you navigate conflicts? All of those things really fall under that heading of emotional intelligence. And depending on the industry that you're in, you might want to call it different things, but those are topics that people absolutely will pay for. Because if people within my team can't get along, it's going to cost me money. So very often people will pay for anything related to emotional intelligence. All right, option number 3 is leadership coaching with a specific focus on crisis management. So because oftentimes organizations have internal crises that they're expecting managers to navigate and support their employees through, a lot of times they don't have that skill automatically. Let's say, for example, I'm in finance, right? And I am the director of finance. I don't necessarily have any skills to help people navigate the stressors that happen when there's a financial crunch or the market is down, right? So those are things that might be really beneficial for people to have. So leadership coaching with that specific focus on crisis management can be something that people will pay for. And I'm going to call this one maybe the cousin to crisis management, and that's change management. So if you've ever seen an organization where there was a leader that was in place for a long time and maybe they had to step down, or maybe they had a medical crisis, or they just decided to retire. A lot of times what happens is when has been a leader in a particular industry for a long time and that person shifts to a different role, or they leave the organization entirely, the organization can't really bounce back, so to speak, because that leader really influenced the culture of the organization. And so that change management piece is something that's really important. Now, with that, you're sometimes looking at how individuals experience change. And I will say that some of these different subcategories do have additional kind of certifications or trainings that you might want to include, or even just books that you want to reference. But the reality is how you help people navigate change includes how their brains are functioning, how they're wired, what their responses might be. And so those are things that typically an organization that says like, hey, we're having this shift, we're having a rebrand, we are making some changes, we're being acquired, or we're acquiring someone else, and we want to make sure the culture is strong. Those are things that organizations are paying for every day. And the last one is less of a topic, but more of just like a solution in general, and that is a retreat. Now, so often we have, like staff development retreats or events, and what generally ends up happening is the organization has to internally handle all the logistics of that. Well, what that typically means is that some of the people are doing the work and they're not experiencing the transformation that comes from the event. So hiring that out allows everyone to be able to have that same experience of having that service provided for them. So you position yourself as, hey, we want you to make sure that all of your staff has the benefit of experiencing the transformation of this wellness retreat, or this recovery retreat, or this, burnout prevention retreat, or this, whatever kind of retreat you want to provide. And we bring in all of the subcontractors to make sure that you get this great service. We take care of all of that for you. Again, this is one of those areas where I would thoroughly and strongly, consult you and encourage you to subcontract some of this out and make sure that you are helping people and hiring people to help you with that. But this is one of those areas where you can take over that legwork that makes you look even more valuable. And you can include include the cost for all those moving pieces. But when you do something like that, you set yourself up as a premium service, right? You're the concierge who is bringing this wellness retreat to them. Now, maybe you're only doing a small fraction of that, the actual work of the event, but you're taking over the logistics of that. Maybe you're really organized and you're like, hey, I really kind of like using this part of my brain, and I can come in and do my workshop and get out, So those are things that people are paying for today. And most organizations have a fair amount in their budget for that. You just got to position yourself as the easier solution for them. Now, I hope you have watched all of these videos that are our series on from the therapy room to the consulting practice. I hope you have watched all these videos. If not, I want to encourage you to go back and watch every single one of them, because there's a little something in each one that will help you. And I will tell you the truth, guys. I started my consulting business totally DIY. I did so much on my own. And you can absolutely take the amazing value that I provided in these videos and go right out today and offer this service to someone in your community. And chances are you can actually start making some money. But if you want to do it easier, you want to do it prettier, and you want to do it in a way that makes sure you don't miss any steps and that you have the most enjoyment from it, I'd love to support you in that. I happen to believe that there should be more of us in these spaces, providing these services and impacting the world for good. I happen to believe that inside the counseling room is only one way that you can have an amazing impact on your community. And I want to help you do that. I also happen to believe that if you are a helper or a healer, you should be making exactly what you want to make and seeing that deposited into your account whenever you want it to be. So I'd love to be a part of that process for you. Click the link around this video, sign up for one of my consultations, and let me know what area you'd like a little bit more support. When I'm offering you this support, I promise you I'm going to offer my very best to you to help you do this in as easy and as simple a way as possible, because I want you to enjoy what you're doing, to love your life, and to have massive impact in the community. So click that link, sign up for one of my consultations, and before you go, make sure you drop a comment and let me know which one of these videos was most helpful for you.